have been so sick of every single time that there's been hate against Jewish folks that all of a sudden, well, the hate against other minorities is just as bad and we should elevate that as well. I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it, but sometimes it is okay just to talk about anti-Semitism.
It is okay to talk about it,
but it's not okay.
Why is anti-Semitism the only prejudice that matters?
Why
does it feel like that?
It's not, but the intent...
It does.
I'll tell you. What I am saying is that I think we should not downplay anti-Semitism, and I am saying that it's a good thing that the Trump administration is focusing in on that. On the particulars of this case,
I think that there are other forms of racism that matter.
Certainly.
I think that there are other things that matter, and it feels like everything is kind of sent.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this segment. This one really pissed me off. This was from Saturday morning. This is what the racist Republican Party loves to see. Check this out, and we'll talk about it.
Welcome back. California is in the crosshairs of the Trump administration yet again. Sources tell CNN that President Trump is planning to cancel a massive chunk of the state's federal funding, and agencies are being told to start identifying grants that can be withheld. We're also hearing that Trump could be targeting California universities over alleged anti-Semitism on campus. This is just the latest episode in the long-standing fight between Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom. Last month, the president threatened to strip California's federal funding over a transgender athlete's participation in a high school track competition. I don't know, Solomon, what do you make of this threat? Because in a way, this actually seems like way more nuclear on this issue than a lot of the other things that they've done, because it's not Harvard University, it's the state of California, which produces a lot for this country. The universities are massive. They produce a lot of research. It's a next step. It seems.
It is a next step, and it feels like we are no longer the United States of America. Because how do you target one state and not do the same thing to other states? How do you target this state because they don't agree with you politically? You were elected to be the president of all of us, and not just those in the red states, not just those who voted for you, but for everybody. And to target California in this way feels like, I don't know, like we're in the days of the Confederacy and the Union, like we're separated into two separate countries, and it shouldn't be like that.
Well, yeah, whatever happened to states' rights and, you know, allowing states to handle their internal affairs and not have the federal government just kind of stick the hand in there and say, we're going to take all your money away that, by the way, you as taxpayers paid for.
In this case, states' rights would mean, I guess, allowing UCLA to continue to operate Jew exclusion zones on their campus. We called it alleged anti-Semitism. This has been one of the worst places in the country on college campuses for the mistreatment and terrorism of Jewish students. That's number one.
Guys, really quickly, I looked up that whole Jew exclusion zones. It's complete garbage. Kids were protesting and blocking off certain sections of the campus, and all they wanted was, if you wanted to pass, was to disavow Israel committing genocide on the Palestinian people. It had nothing to do with being Jew or Jewish person. Like, this is insane.
He just addressed that.
He is addressing that.
No, I mean, meaning like actually deal with the school and address those problems of anti-Semitism. Why is the threat expanding and metastasizing to the entire state?
Well, I mean, this is the state school system. So, I mean, he's making it known that the state of California has not done.
That actually is even more to the point. It's a state school system. You're identifying problems that potentially happened on a campus of a massive school system.
I think to try to downplay what happened out there is a mistake.
Why is Trump sort of taking a sledgehammer to something that is like a tiny little thing that he needs to just address in a concerted way?
I do not agree that what happened on the campuses is a tiny little thing. And I think to get people's attention,
a targeted approach to the issue that you are identifying.
This is an approach to the issue. It is targeted. It's targeted at the state that allowed it. And regarding the other issue with the transgender athletes, the president signed an executive order on this. The administration has a legal point of view about it, and they told states, if you permit this punishment of girls who are trying to play their sports, we're going to come after you. So they were warned. They chose to move forward with it anyway. Even the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has expressed some, misgivings about having transgender athletes in these competitions, but he wouldn't step in and do anything about it. So I think the state of California, for a lot of reasons, deserves what they're getting today, and hopefully it leads to some behavior modification.
How do you, as the president, target an entire state because you disagree with two things that happened there? That makes no sense to me, and I don't think it should make sense to any of us.
It's because anti-Semitism should not be condoned.
Why
and
is
we should-
anti-Semitism
and we should
the
not-
only prejudice that matters?
I think
Why does it feel like that?
It's not. It's not. But the intent.
It does.
I'll tell you, hold on one
Yeah, go
second
for it.
here. I got to tell you, I'm a Jewish American. I've been so my entire life. I'm not exactly the most religious guy in the world.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as a Jewish American, I have been so sick of every single time that there's been hate against Jewish folks, that all of a sudden, well, the hate against other minorities is just as bad, and we should elevate that as well. I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it, but sometimes it is okay just to talk about anti-Semitism.
It is okay
and
to talk
realize that
about
we
it,
have
but it's
problems
not.
with
But
it.
it's not okay to target an entire state
Well, that's
and say that the only thing that we're targeting you for is anti-Semitism and what happened with a transgender athlete. I think that there are other forms of prejudice that matter. I think that
Certainly.
there are other forms of racism that matter.
Certainly.
I think that there are other things that matter, and it feels like everything is kind of centered on. In fact, the Trump administration feels like they're weaponizing anti-Semitism in a way against those who disagree with it.
I just think I'll
I
just
could-
finish.
oh, yeah, go
I'll just finish quickly. I would just say I just think it is nice that we're really actually focusing on anti-Semitism for a change in this country and talking about that we do have a real issue and that there is real Jewish hate on the rise, and we all need to address it.
I think we
Harry,
do,
can
but
I
we have
ask-
to
just
address
a follow-up,
anti-black
Harry?
racism too.
In the
We have
context,
to address
in the context
anti-LGBT
of this
100%.
conversation, in the context of this conversation,
Yeah.
do you think it is appropriate? This is an administration that has gutted the Civil Rights Office, which protects everybody, regardless of who you are or where you come from or what religion you hold.
Exactly.
Do you think it is appropriate for them to, in this case, say anti-Semitism is the reason why we're going to direct all federal agencies to cut off all funding to millions of people in an entire state?
I'm not sure that I necessarily agree or disagree with the Trump policy on this particular case. What I am saying is that I think we should not downplay anti-Semitism, and I am saying that it's a good thing that the Trump administration is focusing in on that. On the particulars of this case, I don't know if I necessarily have a point of view, although one thing I will note is that in the past, there have certainly been instances in which the federal government has tried to dictate state policy by withholding funds. I mean, that's the reason why the drinking age was raised to 21 in this country, was because the federal government essentially said, I believe it was led by Frank Laudenberg, of course, United States Senator from New Jersey, who was no conservative, in which he essentially said, you know what, we're going to withhold funding if, in fact, you do not raise
Yeah,
the...
hold on. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
That funding we're talking about is transportation funding, because the federal government has a right to regulate interstate transit. So there are cases where the federal government has been able to do this, where they're able to tie the issue to money that they have jurisdiction over. I don't think we have ever seen a federal government try to restrict money to an entire state carte blanche over two unrelated issues. We've never seen that before. Coming up next, Michael.
I thought Harry was a decent person. I didn't know much about him, but I don't like that. This is the thing. Solomon Jones is absolutely right. He's not saying, what about us? For no reason. He's not saying screw Jewish people, obviously. You know what the man stands for. It's crystal clear what he is referring to. Where is the outrage for black students who have been mistreated? Let me think for a second. Where are we? We're in June. Okay, so since the beginning of effing time, black students have been mistreated. Like, this is what he's talking about. Where is the outrage for that? Do you think colleges or society, for that matter, has been a welcoming place for black people, Papa? Like, come on. That's what he's saying. And this is what I talk about. Instead of saying, you know what, you are right, and even though this right here, like, what Harry could have said is, you know what, Solomon, you're right. This issue, even though it's about Jewish people, for far too long, black people haven't had their fair treatment in this country. And I, as a Jewish person, this is what Harry should have said, will take on your fight as personally as I do this one. And I implore all people of color or anyone else that's being discriminated on to have this kind of mentality. And this is not about anti-Semitism, what's happening in campuses. campuses. I'll get to that in a second. Harry is falling for it himself. But one day, with this kind of mentality that Harry has, you'll find yourself with no allies, wondering why no one is around to help. Hispanics, as a Hispanic myself, that goes for our people too. We should be uniting with black people and other marginalized groups and build an unbreakable force that this country will not see coming. This is how you truly push back against racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism. And again, this is not to take away from anything from Jewish students. Every student should feel safe, no matter what. But these protests, in many cases, are ran by Jewish students, or they are involved in the protest. They are part of the protest themselves. Everyone knows it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Of course, us on the left, of course we don't hate any group of people or any particular religion. That's a right-wing thing. Right? That's just such an obvious thing. We shouldn't even have to argue that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the wiping out of a group of people called the Palestinians. It's very simple, Republican conservatives. I know it's a crazy concept, and innocent lives are being slaughtered. Children are being slaughtered. No. That's anti-Semitism. I mean, this is what I mean by Republicans having two brain cells, if that. And I mean, those two brain cells are struggling from dying out. It's truly incredible. And I just have to say one more thing real quick. The only reason, and I've said this before, Republicans are fake acting like they care about Jewish people. They don't care, obviously. We all know that. It's because it's so that they can pretend that white people are having it so tough. Look at this. Look at how we're being discriminated on. It's fake selective racism crap. It reminds me exactly of that all lives matter all over again. You know what I mean by that? The only anti-Semitism any Jewish person should be worried about is the parties that supports chants like Jews will not replace us. You get that? You know, the party of the Nazi salute and proud to do it. The party of the great replacement theory and Holocaust deniers. Yes, some of them believe the Holocaust didn't happen or wasn't as bad. The party of Nick Fuentes, Kanye West. I mean, we can just go on and on. Jewish space lasers, just brain dead conspiracy after brain dead conspiracy theory. All conservatives. I mean, if this isn't blatantly, crystally clear why the Republican Party attracts these kinds of people, I mean, I don't know what to say. And if you're still on the fence, oh my God, who's anti-Semitic, the left or the right, you're effing lost. But anyways, and anytime a Republican shows or acts like they have this fake outrage for Jewish people, remind them they're the part of the Jews will not replace us. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.